It's Off Exit 10, presented by Capital District Sport and Fitness.
How many times did you guys go to the tournament when you were there?
I was hurt one year, but 4 times.
4 times you guys went.
So I redshirted my senior year because I tore my ACL, and then I played the following year. But we went 4 times, yeah.
4 times then. What seed did you get? A seed's just like basketball, 1 through 64?
Yep. So it's like, but it's a similar
1 through
too.
16.
1 through, yeah.
Right.
So my last year we played at 21st. Or, no, it's not. It's 1 through.
It's 1 through 6.
That doesn't make sense, yeah. So we played Florida State, and they were ranked 21st. That's the best seed we got.
Right.
Because the 2 years we played Stanford, and I think they were second.
Oh.
Yeah, and then actually that's not true. My freshman year we played Cleveland State, and then that's when they would centralize it because we played Penn State after that. So we won the first round and then played Penn State.
So do they do it like regions and then?
They used to.
Now they don't?
I think they might go back to it.
Okay.
Just because it makes more sense.
It does.
Yeah.
Right. Like volleyball wasn't something, I guess, like our high school team, Paul, was nice, but wasn't something that I got exposed to a lot or even like heard a lot about until we opened here.
Yeah, the Northeast is behind.
Yeah.
Right.
I thought
a lot, yeah.
I thought of boys volleyball. Our girls volleyball, I don't remember if it was as good as our boys, but our boys volleyball team was good when I was in school.
Right. But it's behind. You grew up.
Definitely.
You didn't grow up around here, did you, bro?
No, in North Carolina.
North Carolina. Yeah, guys, before we get things rolling, we have Brooke Kraham with us here. If you're a volleyball player in the area and have been, following over the past 10 years or so, you probably have heard of her, but she was a 2009 America East Player of the Year for UAlbany. Correct me if I'm wrong, you're second in their history there with assists.
Yes.
3-time America East Setter of the Year. Quite the recipe, and now an assistant coach there.
Yes. Thank you.
So where'd you grow up then?
In Hendersonville, North Carolina.
And volleyball was much bigger there.
It's bigger in the South. I'm still from a smaller town, but yeah, it's a little bit bigger than the Northeast. Yeah, for sure.
And then what brought you up here? Was it Albany?
It was, yeah. The coach when I was here was Kelly Sheffield, who just won a national championship at Wisconsin, and he got me to come. He's very persuasive, but I loved it, so I can't complain. It was good. Yeah.
And then you've stayed ever since?
No, I moved down south right after I was done and coached high school for 1 year at Hendersonville, and we actually won state, so that was pretty cool.
So you coached 1 year in one state?
And then I was out, just like that. No, and then I came back up because I had coached, and then I got out of it, and I married Zach, and then we moved back down for a year and then decided to come back up, and so we've been here for 6 years.
Yeah, and like volleyball, Paul, as we continue to grow the gym, like we've had a lot of volleyball athletes come through here, and it's been fun to learn and super cool to watch. Like it's a crazy athletic sport.
It is. Yeah, reaction is you have to be reactive. So
Right.
jump and move and everything quick.
When I went, because I saw you guys play this year. Yeah, this year against Siena.
Yeah.
Because we have a girl on Siena, and it's fun to watch. Like it's intense. Like it's fast paced, and like you're not, as much as I love baseball, like baseball's very slow paced. So there's a lot of time for me to like sit there or go do something else. Whereas like if I'm watching a volleyball game, like you got to pay attention because anything can happen at any time, and that's. My brain functions better with like fast-paced stuff. So when I was watching it, I was like, it was fun to watch for sure.
It used to be slow.
Yeah.
They've changed a lot of things. So it used to be you had to serve to get a point.
I remember that.
Yeah, it was terrible. It's not terrible. I grew up with it, but it was really slow. So they changed the whole sport to make it so people would start watching it. So we're like this. We are probably ranked second in the standings for sports. I think softball's first. We just are growing to be with that women's basketball.
Okay.
So it's growing. It's good.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is cool to see. Like we're seeing more and more high school girls start to play volleyball, which is great and awesome. But you see that too with baseball now. Like they're changing rules to make it faster.
Yep. To watch.
Yeah, like people's attention spans are just minimal.
They're going.
I used to be able to sit there and watch a baseball game all the time when I was little. Now I'm like, And you'd think as a child I wouldn't have the attention span to watch it, but as an adult I don't have the attention span to watch it. Like as a child I could sit there and be like, oh, this is great, like baseball. Now I'm like, what else is on? Like I'll come back in the 7th,
And come
8th,
back,
9th.
yep.
Yeah. So I definitely get that. And I mean, even when you were talking about getting more like kids involved with volleyball, especially like girls involved, like can count at least 2 or 3 that have picked up volleyball this year, right? And it's great to see because like they're picking it up as like their quote unquote second sport, so they're going into it to have fun.
Yep.
And then they end up loving
And then
it
they love
because
it.
they're having fun.
Right.
Absolutely.
And they don't realize that that's why they're loving it. Like, yes, it's a fun sport, but you're also just going there to have fun. You're not putting all this pressure on yourself. And it definitely see a difference with that when they do that. And
Yeah.
who knows, some of them might go down that route.
Yeah, if you can keep it that way, it's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
It has to be because it's the point's over in like 10 seconds. The average point is like 10, maybe 5 seconds.
Yeah.
Right.
So you have to be positive the whole time. So that's why I think it's growing, especially in the Northeast, but it's so much fun because I was at Chatham for five years. So it was so much fun to start the middle school program and then watch just girls love it. So I enjoyed that a lot.
Was there modified at Chatham?
So there was no middle school program. You started it.
Yeah.
Yeah, Jay Brantley and I, we started it, which was really cool because by the time I left, I think 30 to 40 girls tried out for middle school, which was huge.
That's
Because
awesome.
it's like, that's the grade level there. So like, that's how many kids are
I mean,
there.
that's a testament to you and JB. Like a
Yeah, it
sport
was
doesn't
fun.
even exist.
Yeah, it was good.
To that many girls playing. What are the biggest differences you coaching high school girls, like a startup program, and then transitioning, into older girls and then into college?
I mean, in every sport, you have to focus on basics. So
Right.
in that, there's nothing, but it's just fine tuning everything. So we would do basics every day in high school. And then you work on like attitude, like you're going to work on that every day. But I would say the biggest thing is the amount of skill.
Right.
So skill level. So I think that's across the board for every sport, but that is huge because I'm not just teaching them how to hit a ball, I'm teaching them where to hit. And then when this is happening, all right, you're going to do this instead. And in high school, you're like, go get it. Like enjoy it, but go do your thing. And that's probably the biggest difference, skill level.
Right. But still revisiting the basics is important. Like Paul, people in
Always.
here, like you'll still go back and goblet squat, even if you've been with a back squat. Like you gotta retouch
Absolutely.
on those things. Did you play other sports growing up?
Yes.
How many other sports?
I played basketball, I ran track. So I did 3.
All
Always.
through, all through high school.
Mhm.
Do you feel like that's not the case anymore?
Nope.
Like you see that when you're recruiting?
Yeah, you can tell a triathlete if someone's just specialized.
Right. Like how much recruiting is so fascinating to me.
Yeah.
And I don't know, because like social media drives me like fucking crazy. When I see kids, they'll post that they got an offer.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, cool, like you got an offer.
Absolutely.
Which means, what it means.
No, social media is crazy. They actually, kids will have a social media account for just volleyball, and then they'll have their own. So we have to look at both.
Right. Which is like cool because it's like
But-
teaching professionalism.
Yeah, no, it is. Sometimes it's hard because parents get involved a lot in that aspect, and that's tough because we want to recruit them. and
Right.
If we don't even know that other people are involved, so that's a big. If any parents is listening, that's a big red flag.
Right.
Yeah.
How much are you involved with the recruiting right now?
I about a month ago went to Kansas City. So there's
Okay.
big tournaments all year round everywhere across country.
Mm-hmm.
So we travel at least once, if not twice a month, to tournaments everywhere, and go from there. Yeah, so it's a lot. It's good, and I have like phone calls every day. So
With different kids
Mhm.
and parents.
and then the same kids. Yeah.
Right. How do you find these kids initially? Through going to these tournaments?
Yep, actually, and we just kind of went. We're in Europe, so we're watching a lot of film on kids from Europe too, which is pretty cool. So we just got a girl from she lives in Poland, but she's Ukraine, which is kind of crazy right now. But
Wild.
she's really good. Like she had an offer from Washington, and we just sealed that deal with like the relationship we made with her, and we're like, okay, that's great. Like we'll take her. So she's
Right.
really good. We just got a girl from Turkey. So it's different. We want these kids right now because they're 22s actually, because we had some, every team has different things that happen. People leave or graduate early or whatever. So we had to fill those gaps fast. But in terms of like 23s and 24s, yeah, we're going out and looking for kids.
Right. How much Do you ever just see film of a kid on the internet and you go, hey, I'm going to reach out to this kid? Because that's what's changed a lot from probably when you were going through the process, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, like, it's huge. It's everything.
You can put a video on Twitter and let it run.
Yep, you can. And it's big. I mean, I watch video constantly. And like my staff will be like, all right, hey, look at this kid. Right. So that's a big deal. And that's growing up here. It wasn't, and now it is. So now kids are like, oh, I got to make a highlight film. Okay. Right. Yeah, it's big. And it has to be like, if I watch a highlight film for 3 minutes and I don't see anything, okay. But if I see something right away, I'm like, oh, maybe I'll just talk to this kid because you don't know. Yeah. So then we go see them live. Right. So that makes a big difference, yeah. And
then how important is relationship building? That has to be the name of the game after that.
It is, because so for Albany, we want to be top from 50 to 100. Right, that's what we want to be in RPI. Right. So we're trying to get the kids that are maybe thinking about going to some of the Power 5 schools. So that's tough. So we have to make relationships really fast on our end.
Yeah.
Well, like, even with the girl from Ukraine and Poland, like you said.
I love her. Yeah.
Like, she had to choose between Washington and you guys, and you said because of the relationship.
Yeah, it's huge.
She chose
it's everything.
You guys, and that makes a big difference.
Yeah, girls and young females they need to understand that. I think that's big for them because they don't need to just choose something maybe based on a name. They need to have that relationship because then they're going there for 4 years without their parents or their family.
Right.
So I think that's huge. For me, that's big.
How much do you talk about that? Because we see that in here with kids where they'll just sign somewhere because of the name.
Right.
Or because it's
Division I.
Right? And you're like, this isn't a good fit for you. You know it.
It's unfortunate. Truly. Yeah. I think it's a disservice from I think that's a big thing right now, especially because the portal is wide open and kids are transferring from the portal.
Can you explain the portal for people that don't get it?
The portal. So if you attend a college and then you want to leave, you go on the portal. Right. And then it's open the door to any school that you want to go to. But if they have openings. And it's tough because right now volleyball has I want to say a few months ago it was 600 girls on the portal. Football had the same, and it's only, for football, I think 30% go somewhere out of that number. And for volleyball, I think it's a little higher. It's probably 40, 45, but that's still, that's a really small number that don't go anywhere, or big number that don't go anywhere.
And then how much does COVID affect that with people who,
it's tough.
Getting that extra year of eligibility,
it's
all
tough.
that kind of stuff.
Because you don't know if they want to come back, and if they do, you might not have money, which they want, or they're okay with not having money, or they go somewhere else because it's for an experience.
Yeah.
It's a unique thing. That is pretty cool, though, I have to say. If I had a fifth year, okay, let's do this. And you can go anywhere.
That's wild. We had the Herkimer baseball kids on an earlier podcast, and I had no idea what year they were. These are grown men, 21 years old. And they're like, oh, I'm a freshman, and you're like, oh my gosh.
I'm like, fuck.
No, but back to your point, too, relationships, I think, especially with the head coach. Assistants go from place to place. That's just the name of the game. But you have to, you need to love the place. You need to make those connections. You need to feel valued. Even if you don't play right away, just have that respect that you want to play for those people.
Right.
That's a big deal.
And like you said, you're making a decision for the next 4 years. And that's something I try to, whenever I'm talking to kids, especially right now, there's so many that come up to me talking about what school they've gone to, where they're visiting, coaches that have reached out to them, whatever it is, right? And I try to stress to them to know that you're making a decision for the next 4 years of your life.
Right.
So it's got to feel like it's the right fit. And a lot of the kids in here are great at it, and we've had other kids that we know are making a decision based off of, Division I or the name of the school or whatever. And obviously we hope the best and whatnot, but and we're always here for them for support. But it's definitely a big decision you're making. It's the next 4 years of your life. You're going from being a high school teenager to early adulthood.
Yep. It's a big deal.
Big step.
No, I agree. No, and what tends to happen is we actually we got someone off the portal who didn't care where they went. They were like, I don't care about that title anymore. I just want to go in and enjoy it. So we ended up getting her, which was great. But it's hard for people to say that and come to that consent, just to know that they want to just go enjoy themselves and play where they can get their education that they need and then enjoy volleyball. So that was pretty cool for her. That's one of the first people to ever say that to me. So it's a different world, even from 3 years ago. So COVID has really changed everything.
Yeah.
So.
On the recruiting front, the most?
For sure. Because it's so much easier. Just to see kids with the video.
Right.
It's a different world, and we FaceTime everyone. And it's pretty cool, I have to say. I like it. But we're getting back to, traveling, going to watch people play, which is also, it's fun. it's good. We need that.
How many trips do you take? Is it frequent?
I want to say, and like usually for recruiting, especially in Division I, it's harder because the money, depending on how much money you have in different schools, but probably at least twice a month.
But that has to be tough. You're competing with a Power 5 who has a much bigger budget, right? Like this
Absolutely.
This is the business side of things that
Yes.
that people don't see.
It's huge. So we have to know who we're going for. We have to know why we're going somewhere and be able to talk to those, like be able to see those kids and have like a reason. A lot of places will be like, oh, we'll just go here and look around
Right.
for like ninth graders or younger.
How young will you look at?
Depending on where the level you are, like if you're in a Power 5 school, you can be looking at seventh graders. You can't talk to them, but you
Right.
can be looking.
Right, they're on your radar.
And it's crazy.
That's
It is
wild.
crazy.
I mean,
So-
think about our
yeah.
7th graders in here. You're
Yeah.
like, what?
I know. And I think some other sports are even, like lacrosse is pretty intense. They go pretty young.
I mean, even basketball does.
Yeah.
Like,
No, it's everywhere.
Like it's everywhere. You
Yeah.
know, you see, I forget, there was a kid, like I remember them talking about, like had offers from, one of the ball kids, like the Lonzo Ball or Lamella
Yep.
Ball. One of them was getting offers at like 12 years old, and I'm like, he's 12.
Yeah, you can verbally commit somewhere in seventh grade, but you can't sign until after
Yeah.
your sophomore year.
Wild.
Yeah, and I highly suggest every kid waiting until at least their junior year.
When did you
So.
commit?
I committed in the summer of my between junior and senior year.
Your senior year.
I mean, and volleyball is what, a fall sport?
Yep.
So like that makes sense, you know. But they're like by the winter usually with fall sports. A lot of the time, I feel like
Yeah.
the decision's usually made. Like
Absolutely.
spring sports, you kind of got to make that decision a little sooner
Yeah.
because your sport literally ends, and then it's time
And
to
then
go.
you gotta- yeah.
Time to go.
Yeah, it's
So-
tough. Volleyball is in the fall, but then club is all year round.
Okay. Yeah.
So and then I feel like for other sports, depending, it's similar, right? Is opposite or is it the same? Baseball's the same, isn't it?
For what?
For the travel ball.
It's spring and then pretty much all year round.
Yeah,
Yeah.
summer, fall. They're doing
Yeah,
stuff in the
they do
winter
fall
now.
ball. So yeah, that helps because that's how we recruit.
Right.
We can't recruit in the fall, so
Right. So then you go to club
we
stuff.
go to every yeah.
Can you sense like potential burnout with a kid when you talk to them, or no?
Yeah, there's red flags, especially if they just play that sport. That's
Right.
something we're looking for because that's tough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like we talked a lot with Rob on our first podcast about this, but like, to get your perspective, like
Yeah.
somebody who's these kids are doing single sport because they want to talk to you
Mm-hmm.
and they want to go play for your program. But I mean, you note that when they're a single sport. I mean, they could be a stud and that's that.
Oh yeah, for sure.
But still have to take that into consideration, right?
Absolutely, because those kids too do tend to burn out. It's a way bigger number now. Somebody should do a study. I'm sure there are studies.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, there's so many different attributes to a tri-sport or even just two-sport
Right.
athlete because they're way more athletic in different things. They see different things.
Yeah, and you're taking away this element of like potential injury,
Yep.
right? Like if you're just jumping and hitting or
Yeah.
setting all year, like, well, your shoulder's encountering a lot more than if
Absolutely.
you were playing and then doing track or doing basketball.
Right.
It's just a different stimulus for your body.
Yeah. No, I totally agree.
So-
And I think most college coaches in every sport agree.
Right.
It's something that we should say more.
Because it doesn't trickle down.
It doesn't.
No.
Like we see it
Right.
every week
It's
Every
crazy.
day.
of like, well, I'm going to stop playing soccer so I can do club.
Right.
What would you tell that girl? She's in 8th grade and she feels pressured to make her varsity team. So she or her parents say, okay, you're going to have to stop doing soccer and you're going to do club so you could get better at volleyball.
What would I tell her? That I would say that you're going to learn more things in both.
Right.
Like, in the best way, like, you're going to learn more things from doing, sometime at that age, from doing different sports. That'll just make you better from there. And honestly, if you don't make varsity your first year, okay. Like, you're going to be fine.
Right.
Like, you'll make it the next year probably. And if you're that good and you're that worried, like, it's not the end of the world. Like, you're just... It's unfortunate that we already put too much pressure on kids that age because there's Michael Jordan didn't make basketball, right? His freshman year in high school.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, look what he became, look what he did.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's unfortunate we're doing that now to kids when we already know that's what we're doing.
Yeah.
So that should totally change. That whole culture needs to change.
Yeah. Do you feel like some coaches don't understand that that's not a good thing, or haven't, because like we're younger, right, in the grand scheme of things in terms of coaching these kids. Like we see a lot of other sport coaches or strength coaches or skill coaches that are just a little bit older than us and either like didn't go through this transition where like the internet became a thing and you feel more pressure on yourself when you're just more, right? Like I think it's important to understand.
Yeah.
Like, do you see people that miss that?
Yeah, for sure. And I think it's a money grab.
Oh,
I think for club sports, it's like, no, you're paying me, like, you got to pay this much money, and you said you're going to be here, so you got to be here.
Well, that's going back to our first episode with Rob, where he talks about you're paying to play a club sport, or you can go play a high school sport for free.
Yeah.
For free.
And you can do both, let's be serious.
Yes.
Right.
Hey, I'm going to miss these days, but I have high school to deal with.
Yeah.
So you have to I think if you make priorities in the beginning, just like if you're negotiating a job, all right, I'm going to do both, but I got to do these two things. Then, okay.
Mm-hmm.
No one's going to tell you no. I'm sorry. If they really want you, they're not going to say no.
Right. We've seen some no's.
That's crazy.
It's crazy.
It's crazy.
But
We've seen it like recently.
But it's unfortunate for them. They're missing out.
Yeah, but it's an adult with an ego.
Right. Exactly.
Right?
No, it's true.
Yeah.
Like you got
It's so true.
You got some fucking trauma you got to address. Right?
It's unfortunate.
Yeah.
Because you're taking stuff away from a kid that could maybe even be better in the other sport. Who knows?
Right.
It's just unfortunate.
Yeah, like that's where I'm happy to have you here. Like, when did you realize like relationships are so important when you're working with people or kid or anybody?
Yeah. Because and especially in this atmosphere, but I want them to, one, be the best they can be, and if they're playing for themselves and for me, then they're only going to get better. If we don't have that relationship, they're not going to. I genuinely don't think athletes play as hard as they could if you don't have that relationship. I'm not going to be able to push you as hard as I can because you're not willing to do that. Right. So relationships are everything. And it's not just for volleyball, it's for everything else. Like, I'm making them better. Like, for me, relationships and these, especially the current girls that I have right now, like, I genuinely love them. And I feel that they have that same with me. Mm-hmm. So it's a different way to coach, I think. But it's worked out for me. Like, even with Chatham, I had great relationships with them. And some of them are playing volleyball, so I can't, and they still reach out to me, ask me questions. Like, I couldn't ask for a better thing. So I'll keep doing that until someone tells me that's way wrong, or it's not inappropriate, but if that's different, or if I learn something, a different way to coach. But relationships should be the key focus.
I don't think that should ever change.
Right.
Like, I think that should be the focus.
Yeah.
Like, 100%. That's what we focus on in here, is building the relationship with the kids to come here and feel like they don't have the pressure on them.
Right.
Like,
exactly.
Or they don't have to worry about this injury that's out there. They're going to come in here, still be able to, get a workout in, work hard. Yeah, they may not be able to get on the field right away, but they're still going to feel good coming in here, and they don't have to think about anything else. And, that's where so many coaches fall short, is, like you said, building those relationships with kids. And I think that's something like you bring it up. I remember my coaches that built the strongest relationships with me, and other coaches I remember, but not quite as fondly,
I think if you're vulnerable too, you're going to make mistakes and then learn, right? And if you're afraid to do those things, then you're not going to grow as much as you can. So it's a big part of that.
Yeah, I think that's important. What's been like your journey transitioning from player and like high level college player, and then getting into coaching and then climbing the ranks in coaching?
I was a setter, so I already had to. It's kind of like quarterback. You have to command a court regardless. You have to know how to talk to people. I had to know ticks for everyone, and everyone's different, right? So someone wanted me to do this way while I was setting, and someone wanted to be talked to this way. So that's already a coaching standpoint. So I already know. And honestly, it's in my blood. Like, my whole family coaches, all of them. So it was there from the beginning. So honestly, it was easy. I have to say, it was an easy transition. I knew I was already going to do it forever. So
yeah, and like, you grew up around it then.
Oh yeah, I was a gym rat. I lived in the gym.
Did your parents ever coach you? Your mom coached volleyball.
Mm-hmm, my mom coached me, and if she couldn't, my dad would step in, and that was hysterical. But no, mom, just mom. It's probably a blessing. Yeah.
And then, did you guys always get along when she coached you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was very fortunate. like, you know, you have your random, like, what the heck, I don't know,
disagreements.
scuffle. Yeah, but
Right.
nothing ever that was. No, she was genuinely the same. She knew like a limited amount of volleyball, truly. I don't know, but the rest was just relationships. Like I
Right.
can't even tell you. Like she's one of the best coaches in the country. Like I can't, in high school.
Like
So she's been national coach of the year twice. Like I can't even, that's crazy, isn't it?
that's wild.
And
It's
you said
amazing.
her knowledge on volleyball is limited. It's
Limited.
all about relationships.
So limited. When I got to college, I was like, oh, I'm supposed to do this. Oh, and this. Oh, thank you. Like it was
Right.
crazy. So I love her. But yeah, it was just about, she just told stories and taught lessons, and it wasn't about volleyball at all.
Yeah, that's like Springfield College, where I went to college. Their men's team like always goes to D3 national championship,
Yep.
and the coach had never played volleyball.
Yeah.
Just a good relationship person, and
It's crazy, isn't it?
That's
yeah,
wild.
but and being willing to learn too, I'm sure.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's also the next part. Like Kelly Sheffield, who just won a national championship. He ran track.
Right.
So he didn't even, so same thing. It's crazy. And I'm not saying that people shouldn't have that sport, but yeah, relationships are everything, and
Right.
willing to learn. You're right.
Yes.
Right. And then what did your dad coach?
He coached football and probably everything else because he was a bit older. So back then you just coached every sport.
Right.
My mom did everything too. So yeah, football, big football guy.
Yeah.
When I was little, I'd run around. I was like the ball kid, but a girl.
Did you ever try to play quarterback?
I wish. I genuinely, if I would go back, I might have tried. Yeah.
I mean, why not? You know.
Yeah. He would have loved that.
I'm sure he would have. I'm sure he would have.
But they were both big, like just inspirations or role models for you then.
Absolutely. He was probably the more like, she was very good at relationships, but my dad was probably a little bit more of that.
Right.
So he like dug into you. He would like talk to everyone that he saw. So that was made you feel good if you're having a bad day. Like he knew those tendencies. So
Right.
that I got from him a lot. And I
Yeah.
appreciate that for sure.
Yeah, just like being around it, growing up.
It definitely makes a difference when you have, like, neither one of my parents really coached. Actually, no, I can't say really coached. No, neither one of them coached. But like, it was always something like I wanted to be a coach in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah.
Like originally, I went to school and I went for phys ed because I was like, oh, I'll go be a phys ed teacher and I'll be
Yeah.
a coach. And then I was like, I don't want to teach phys ed. So then I got into all of this, and essentially, I am kind of teaching phys ed, but I get the coaching aspect a lot more.
Absolutely.
And again, it's one of those things, like, you get to affect younger kids' lives in such a positive way with the relationships you build with them. And I feel like that's kind of like the motto of this right now is
Yeah, for sure.
building the relationships. And like that even goes back to when I was a kid, like the fact that I'm working at this gym. Like, it's because of the relationship Mike and I have had throughout the years, even in times where we were apart from each other.
Right.
Like, we always maintained some sort of contact in some way, shape, or form. But, and again, the relationships is what makes everything kind of come together.
Yeah, I agree.
You could know the most about volleyball, weight training, football, but if you don't know how to talk to people or relate to them, you're never going to be successful.
I agree.
And like you said, you don't even have to have knowledge. You don't even have to have played the sport, and you can be successful at coaching it. So it's pretty wild the things that you can do when you build those right relationships with people. So
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
totally
definitely.
agree.
Yeah, like middle school, high school, and then through college. So right now with the college season, what are most of your responsibilities? Like, it's a full-time thing with recruiting?
So since we're out of season,
Yeah.
you're saying? Yeah, it's a lot. You wear a lot of hats. There's a lot of, it's honestly coaching in college. If you are out of season, it's a desk job.
Right.
Like you're working on next year's season. You're doing a lot of recruiting. You're working on all the back stuff that you don't think of. So you have to make sure the grades are good. You meet with them. You work on equipment. You work on budgeting, and there's a whole bunch of things
Right.
that go into it. So yeah, it's full time. It's a lot of phone calls. It's way more just talking to recruits and current players, and
this makes me glad I didn't go into coaching.
it's a lot. Yeah, no, I'm with you. It's a lot.
It's just like, I don't like sitting down.
Yeah,
for that
no,
long of a time.
100%.
Like, this is hard right now.
I have to stand in
Yeah.
the office when I'm working, or talk, or move. I go walk and then I come back in. So yeah, I get it.
I'm a pacer on my phone. If I get a phone call, I'm instantly walking. Like, doesn't matter what anybody, I'm walking. Like, doesn't matter where I am.
Like the other assistant, Adam, as soon as the same.
Yeah.
He gets a phone call, or he knows he's talking to somebody at 1. All right. See ya.
I could be literally typing something and get a phone call. I'll get up and walk. Like,
absolutely.
It's just out of habit. Like, I don't know why. It makes me comfortable when I'm on the phone.
I understand. Same.
What has to happen around here for volleyball to like keep growing? Like you say, it's behind.
It is behind. I would say, honestly, the youth. It has to start young. Like, I know, like, it doesn't. There's a bunch of youth programs for football, right? And I think baseball is huge. So that has to happen. It has to start when they're young. Right. So even if it's just clinics twice a week or once a week, just to get them in there to learn it. Because when I first started at Chatham, I had to beg 8th graders to come play. And it was fine, but no one knew at that point in time, because I knew before they were okay at volleyball, but it had been a little bit of a time, so they needed people. So yeah, just the youth needs to grow. We need to have that.
Yeah, it's like those youth. They're with all the other sports. Like around here, I feel like club is growing though.
Oh yes. Yeah, it's growing.
Like you start to see more of it.
It actually should grow pretty quickly now.
Just opportunities.
Yeah, men's volleyball actually is growing.
Yeah.
It's pretty good. This area is pretty good in men's volleyball, yeah.
We got quite a couple men's volleyball volleyball players in here.
We did that charity tournament with Novice.
Oh, that was fun.
That was intense. We didn't play.
Oh, we didn't play, but we also didn't fuck around when we put our team together. That's why.
No, like, no. We had like LVC coaches play.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
It's and they're doing really well for the men's. And the LVC is trying to grow the women's too. Yeah. I think it will get even bigger sooner.
Because around here, the biggest are about like LVC, Lakeside.
Yep.
Are like the biggest too.
Yeah, I would say those are the biggest two. There's so that's also an issue. There's a whole bunch of small ones. So in other areas where it's growing, there's a big one.
Which what makes it harder to travel and play?
It's harder for teams to get really good, because like that kid that's really good is playing on that team. And it's just small, it's there. So It's hard, because a lot of places have like one predominant place that has 10 courts in a facility. You're like, yeah, I'm going to play here. And then they go everywhere, and it's expensive. So that's also hard for, I would say upstate or the Northeast to understand that club ball is pretty expensive.
But when it comes down to it, if you compare club anything, like volleyball to baseball, let's say. Baseball, you got to buy a glove, you got to have a bat, you got to have cleats, you got like the equipment outside of volleyball. Right. Like volleyball, you need sneakers and knee pads.
Yep.
Like
you're right.
And your body, like, and some shorts. Like, you don't need to like
that's
have
true.
all this. And that's the thing with like other sport like soccer compared to hockey or other sports, lacrosse. Like they're so much more expensive on the equipment side of things.
You're right.
That like if you want to play another sport or you want to do a club sport, it's possible, but you're paying for a bunch of equipment and stuff too. So, yes, it's expensive for volleyball, but in the grand scheme, when you take out other expenses, it's not as expensive as some other clubs, which should hopefully create more opportunity.
That's true.
That's how I look at it a lot of times. It's like, how much am I spending on the extra stuff?
Yeah.
Like, I want my kid to play, but okay, I got to buy a lacrosse stick, a helmet.
Right.
I got to buy a new lacrosse stick every year.
Yep.
Like, or I got to buy a new pair of sneakers every year. Like,
yeah. And then you have everything else on top of it.
Yeah.
Right.
So.
But it's also the visibility, right? So you say you go to Nebraska and it's like they're celebrities. It's on all the TVs that you go into in your places.
It's crazy. Yeah. And it's big, and it's bigger. It's like big in the South. California, obviously, the West Coast is huge. So yeah, it's definitely visibility.
Yeah.
So
visibility makes a big difference when it comes to any sport. I mean, that's just when you think of the professional sports.
Right.
If there's a professional lacrosse league now, if that gets more visibility, like then that should pick up more, which whether or not it will, who knows, but hopefully they can start coming up with more professional leagues for other sports that can then
I would say that's huge.
Because I think that's also a big thing is like
I agree.
You don't see even if you have the colleges on TV, you don't see professionals.
Right. No, it just started.
Unless it's the Olympics.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. And they just won. That was pretty awesome.
Wait, what just started? Like a professional league?
Mm-hmm. That started in COVID.
Women's?
Yep. And it was a really small group. There's like probably, I want to say 8 teams at the most, and they just played each other. And then they'd switch teams.
That's what lacrosse does right
Yeah.
now.
So, So they're doing it again. They're going to start now. And that will make a big difference. You're right. Yeah. It's all about that pro is that status.
Unfortunately,
is big.
like, it's going to have to be people that are willing to sacrifice a little bit.
Yeah.
Because you're not going to get paid millions of dollars or even thousands of dollars. You're going to get paid
No, they're just
nothing.
These women that are doing it are just trying to make it so it's a thing here.
Yeah.
Because if you go in Europe, you do get paid that much money.
Right.
And it's huge over there. You can start in high school if you want. You can start out of it if you're that good. And that's the other thing we have when we're recruiting from Europe or anywhere, that they can go make money and play volleyball.
So how come
it's like baseball or basketball here?
How come because obviously you think of soccer, everybody thinks of Europe.
Yeah.
How come why do you think volleyball maybe hasn't had that same effect in Europe as like soccer has to translate over here?
That's true.
Like,
it is really big in different countries, but not as big as soccer.
Well, soccer's huge. Soccer's the biggest sport.
Massive.
Yeah. You're not going to compete with that.
I'm just like thinking in my head, I'm like, okay, soccer obviously been around forever.
Yeah.
And is the biggest sport in the world, but how can European volleyball and volleyball overseas be more popular so then kids can see that is an option?
Right.
You know, like that's one thing I'm just in my head. I'm thinking, if you can make that much money playing volleyball overseas, how can that become something that becomes like visible in the United States?
Right.
You know, it's just something popping in my head.
That would be awesome.
Yeah. It's like TV money is
Yep.
what it probably comes down to.
A lot of it does come down to that.
Yeah, so it's
all
for
about
everybody.
what's televised.
That's where all the sports get their big money from. It's from television money. That's where it all comes from. So how much do you feel like playing your other sports helped you though, like progress into your career?
I would say, a lot. I had friends that played all 3 sports too, so that was huge.
Right.
But I played basketball, so that's, you're quicker. And you're quicker on, like, not faster as in you can run faster there, but you make quick movements because you have to in basketball. So that helped. Blocking is huge. They translate really well. But like even softball, like how you turn your hips, like that's huge in volleyball. That's what we do. So they all somehow all sports correlate. I really believe that. So you see things differently. I tell you, like as a basketball, my peripheral vision, you have to have that, right?
Right.
So in volleyball, I had that, and a lot of kids don't have that because it's just this side of the court. Now I see both sides. Listen, that took a long time, but I see both sides. So there's something about it. I really hope that it comes back, but it made a difference for me for sure.
Yeah, I hope it comes back too. I don't know, it's tough. It's just like the culture and how it is from the top down. Just like pressures to make a certain team and that you have to do this club all year round to be able to get there. But
do all the clinics and everything else
yeah, it's unfortunate.
At 11 years old.
Yeah, because if you don't, you feel like you're behind. Yeah. Right? Because all my friends did that or doing that club now, so I should go do it. Or I'm going to be behind the next year. I'll be back. How do you stop that?
Part of me wonders too. Do they feel like they're behind because on a skill set, or do they feel like they're behind because they're not in front of those coaches? Like they're not. All the coaches aren't seeing them, and whatnot.
I'd say both.
Or obviously the parents don't feel like the coaches are seeing them.
I think it's a skill set, and it's like a FOMO thing. Like that's where all my friends are at. That's where.
No, it's true.
I need to be.
100%.
You don't feel like you're getting the exposure, especially as you get into high school years. Like exposure is a big thing. I feel like a lot of kids they want to feel like they're being seen by these big schools, so they do all these showcases.
Yeah.
Even when their back has been bothering them for a month and a half, and we've been trying to work around it. They're like, I'm going to go throw at the showcase. And I'm like, but why? Like just to get in front of coaches, which is great. But if you feel like crap going into it, you're not going to perform well, and then you're going to feel worse after coming out of it. So
it's tough.
It is.
Yeah, I would not want to be a kid right now. That's for sure.
No, it's different. It's totally different. We literally had basketball practice. We all got in a car. We went to club practice twice a week. Now club is 4 times a week, 3 hours long, and every other weekend.
Right.
It's kind of hard to do all 3, and that's on the club. It's money. It all stems down to money. That people are trying to make the most money they can, and I understand that you're running a business, but it does a disservice.
Yeah, you do got to put the kids' health and caring about them above that. And like money will come.
Yep.
Money will come if you do those things.
Yeah, I agree.
But Yeah, it's tough. You just want it like all right now. So is your coaching at Albany a full-time job?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. It is. There's 3 of us on staff, and yeah, full time.
And did you coach there and then move back down south and then move back up here?
I did. No, yeah. Well, I feel like I did it a few times, but yeah, I left right out of college, went down south for the year, and then the head coach that was there asked me to come be an assistant. So I did. Coached for 2 seasons and then went back down and then came up.
Did you coach high school in between which time?
I don't think I ever stopped coaching. I went down to
high school. I meant when you went and won this. Was that in the state title? Was that when you went down there after you graduated, or
Yes.
after? Okay.
I went down. So after I stopped coaching, I wanted to get out of it because of time. It was
Okay.
the work life was a lot. It was I worked till 8:00 at night, and then on the weekends. I think I had 3 days off the whole year.
Shit.
So it was a lot. So I was like, I can't do this. So I actually went and coached D2 as a head coach in South Carolina.
Okay.
And then I was burnt out. So I was like, I can't do this. So I still would coach high school, but college was just too much. And then I missed it. So, and now it's not like that.
There you go.
No, it's real to get burnt out as a coach too. It's like long hours.
Yeah.
You give so much, like, emotionally,
Oh, yep.
right?
That's a totally different topic.
It's like I could spend 2 hours just talking about
No, it's real. Like
It is a lot.
I'll get home at night, and Sam knows my routine. It's like there's probably 5 minutes I'm not going to say a fucking word.
Yeah.
It's like let me go through my steps. Let me clear my head. Let me take a breath, and like
Oh, yeah.
maybe I'm ready to talk after that.
Especially now that you only have a 10-minute ride home.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, it's way better than that hour ride right home. What was that? A car driving by, Jay? Fucking motorcycle. Are the
Yeah.
people,
I'm like, what the fuck?
are the
am I
people going to hear
hearing?
this motorcycle?
No.
Oh, okay.
No, they're not.
Okay, then we're good then. Sorry, guys. It just threw me.
But you know
it
why?
just threw
Because
me
we have
for a loop.
Jordan.
Okay, we're good. We're good. Okay.
No, emotional is a different level.
Yeah, you
difference.
you felt like that? Do you still feel like that?
Absolutely. Because I think every kid right now in college, they're all going through, they have way more stress than I ever did. All of them.
Right.
Truly. And that's across the board. So I know that I'm not a psychologist, but I definitely wear that.
Oh.
And then I have to send them to people if they need it. But I was on an emotional roller coaster this year.
But that's the right move, and that's caring. Like that's where I feel like old school coaches are gonna phase out in the next
Right.
5 to 10 years
I agree
they don't
completely.
know how to do that.
It's hard.
And you need to be able to do that.
Yep.
You need to partly play therapist.
Yep.
You need to know when to refer out to a therapist. You have to have empathy.
Yes. It's different. Relationships are different now. Even, it's the old school is definitely dying.
You know what I mean though by when I say like old school?
Yeah, it's not, for sure.
Yeah, I think we all picture.
I
we
mean,
all
she grew
picture
up around
that.
coaches, so.
Yeah.
It's definitely, my dad was old school. In my opinion, it's definitely dying out.
Right.
You just can't. You can't. I think so. There's some good qualities from it. Like, don't get me wrong.
I think
but
so
For sure.
too.
I think in order to get athletes to love it and to go 100%, that's out the door.
Right.
So you have to be totally different.
The only old school coaches that are going to stay around are the ones that have been doing some of the new school and relationship
Yeah.
building
Yeah.
That adapt.
that they have.
That are willing to
and
learn, yeah.
But they've also been doing it.
Right. The whole time.
Without
exactly.
realizing that they were. Like,
Yeah.
I agree.
You know, like I just think off the top of my head, when I think of like big name colleges, I think of like Nick Saban.
Yeah.
Nick Saban's always going to be successful because whenever I hear professional football players that played for Nick Saban, they talk about their relationship with
Right.
him.
I agree.
And that's where it's like, yes, he has old school tendencies that he probably uses properly, but he's adapted as time has gone on. And those are the only type of, I feel like, old school coaches that are, one, willing to learn, but then also have adapted over time as things have progressed. And if they can't, then you see them get fired or
There's a lot of coaches that have retired in the
Or-
last
exactly.
2 or 3 years.
Yeah,
retire.
COVID pushed that, but I think
Yep.
kids changing
Yeah,
pushes
for
that.
sure.
They can't
Absolutely.
handle or know how to adapt to this emotional toll that you're taking on. Like I think my afternoon today, Paul, I coached for maybe 20 minutes.
You had a lot of
But-
emotional things to
Right?
deal
I
with.
talked to a kid who just got an MRI back about a knee injury, high school girl. I was on the phone with a kid who just tore his UCL, on the phone with somebody's dad. Like
Yeah.
I was psychologist for 2 hours
Yep.
this afternoon. But that's part of the job.
It's definitely part of it now.
Do you feel like kids have a higher like emotional IQ now than they used to? Just like a better understanding of their emotions and how they feel and what they're going through, or no?
That's a tough question.
I know.
I think that they understand that they have issues.
Right.
I don't know if I don't know if kids are learning the right cues to deal with them.
What do you mean?
As in, I don't think, like, oh, I have this mental health issue. Okay. Like, that's why I can't do this. Instead of
giving them a tool.
Rather than, yeah, like, I that's what we're lacking right now. Okay, this is how we're going to deal with it. And then they come back to me the next time. Like, I just had a conversation with someone, and she's like, I'm really sad, I guess I could say. And I was like, but you sound so much better than what you did 3 weeks ago. Like,
Right.
we're not at ground zero anymore. And she's like, oh, I'm not at ground zero. And that already lifted her. Like,
Right.
It's unfortunate that kids can't see that they're already getting better.
Mm-hmm.
They just like, oh, well, I have this. You know, and it stinks because they should be able to fight through something or learn how to or deal with it.
Right.
And push past it or whatever's not for them. But I don't think that we as a society are giving them the tools they need to get past that.
So they're more aware of the fact that they're feeling something.
Exactly.
They just may not know what that feeling is,
Right.
or two, how to deal with it.
Yeah.
And yeah, giving them a toolbox of some sort to help them deal with those things and work their way through, and then also having that support system.
Right.
You know, being that support system as a coach, as a strength and conditioning coach, whatever you
Absolutely.
are, you know, teacher.
But it's
you
an
know.
art form, right? To blend, like, let me teach you how to set and see the court and play, but at the same time, intertwine all of these psychology.
Yes, it
Psychology
is an art
things.
form. That's a great way to put it.
Yeah.
It
Because
is.
10 years ago, even just 10, we were like, no, I got to deal with this.
Correct.
I don't even think about it.
That's
I'm
what
like,
that's what we were told
Yeah.
growing
Oh,
up.
it's
Fucking
all
deal
good.
with
Just
it.
go. Yeah,
Like-
exactly.
Rub some dirt
Wake
on
up, new day.
Yeah.
Like in high school, I thought I was super shy. Like you guys, I was like, I'm just fucking shy, and that's me. But I was an anxious mess. I
Yeah.
just didn't know it.
Exactly. And social media has made it 100 times worse.
Right.
So, yeah.
It's made it worse, and then it's also helped kids become more aware. It's
Yeah,
it's like a
for
double.
sure. Now it's coming. Yeah.
Like
No,
it's
I
a
totally agree.
double-edged, right? Like it helps you become more aware, but then it also puts you into those feelings.
Yep.
Because you're seeing, like we've talked about it, when we were growing up, you couldn't see Joe Smith in California that could throw
Exactly.
90 miles an hour.
Correct.
No, I could see the guy that I played against, and that was it.
Yep.
Like
You're right.
that was it. You know?
No, I agree.
Zach threw 93. That's who I was like, oh yeah, he fucking throws gas. Like, okay. That's what I
Wish I
viewed
saw
as
that.
like the best. Like I was like, all right, here we go.
No, I agree. No, it's totally different now.
It's so different.
But I like that we're talking about this because it's like this is what the future is.
Mm-hmm.
It's like people like us talking to sport coaches like you, talking to doctors and trainers, but just like having an understanding of who this person is in front of us. They're not just your setter or the kid on your team. It's like
Right.
you got to understand where they're coming from
Absolutely.
and their mindset.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's all plays in. It really does. And it's learning how to deal with those issues. And then when you're on the court or on the field or wherever, you don't have to deal with them.
Right. You can have
You
that
just
tunnel.
play.
You have that tunnel
Yeah.
vision.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
You're in your happy place.
Exactly. And that's what it should be.
And I feel like, I don't know, when I talk to some of the kids in here, I try to, or even adults too,
Mm-hmm.
I try to tell them when you're working out here, this is all that matters.
Mm-hmm.
So hopefully then that can translate to other parts of their life or their sport,
Yeah.
where when they're playing their sport, that's all that matters. Like you're just playing your sport, you're having fun, you're with your friends, you go out there and like play. And I try to stress that to kids, like when you're here, let's just focus on what we're doing here. Like, yeah, you got, 7 assignments you got to do, you got 4 practices to go to later and everything, but let's focus on having fun while we're here, get after it, get stronger, and have a good time, and just focus on what's right in front of us.
Yeah,
And
that's
I think
great
that
too.
helps too.
Because this right here, this working out and all that releases so many, I don't even know the right word because I don't know science, but
Demons.
sure, yeah.
That's the
But it
perfect
just helps them
scientific
feel
term.
better later too, or the next day.
Oh yeah. Oh for sure. It's just as much
I was
about
going to say endorphins, and I don't
Yeah,
even
like-
know
I
if that's a
mean,
word.
like dopamine.
That's a
and
word. That's
a
serotonin
word.
and-
Yeah. So this helps. I think this should be even bigger because it just helps with everything.
Well, I think integrating is big. Like, how much do you integrate at Albany? Like, okay, you have strength training and athletic training and nutrition and psychology.
Right. I would say strength training is the biggest one. Like right now, that's for 6 weeks before we started volleyball in the spring, they were just strength training and conditioning.
Right.
And it's huge, especially because COVID, we didn't get to do that. We had a season last year. The year before, it got cut short.
Mm-hmm.
So they haven't learned how to run or learn how to jump, and you see it. It's crazy.
Do you see injuries from it?
Absolutely.
Like more?
Because you're not learning, because you're being thrown to play volleyball, or you're being thrown to play, like, I think about football at Albany. They had a ton of injuries last year.
Right.
So, yeah, it's huge. It's huge. This should be a thing.
Yeah.
This should be all the time.
Like last year after the COVID year was the most, like we see a lot of baseball players, was the most Tommy Johns that we've seen in like one single offseason.
I can only imagine.
How many hamstring issues did we see last year too?
Yeah, hamstring strains from getting back to sprinting, ACL.
Yeah. It's insane that how much this is missed. Maybe that's an eye-opener for people. Like, hey, we need to be doing this a lot more.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Well, and it's building those quality movements. Like, yeah, I don't care if you can squat 300 pounds.
Right.
How does it look?
Exactly.
Like, or great, you can run really fast, but can we get can you cut left and right?
Right.
Like, can you do that without feeling like your knee's going to blow out of its socket?
Yep.
You know, like those type of things are important, and also comes from playing multiple sports.
Exactly. I think I was just, when you were saying that, I was thinking that. I was like, that's why other sports, they keep you healthy.
We've talked to parents that have had younger kids, you know, 5th or 6th graders maybe, that they want to try to get in here. And I've heard Mike say it on the phone before, maybe not word for word what I'm going to say, but basically, like, yeah, get them into another sport or something like that. Have them play their sport for another year, 2-3 sports, and then we'll get them in here for in 7th, 8th grade.
But that's the difference. I'll turn down that money for the next year or two,
Mm-hmm.
and I'll get it back down the line.
Yeah.
So I just did right by the kid.
And then some.
Right.
You know?
That's where people are lacking.
And that's all
I
comes
agree.
back to that relationships that we've been talking about, is that like Mike's trying, building that relationship from right there. From that moment right
I
there,
agree.
that relationship started to build with the parent and then with the kid as well.
Right.
And that's where, we've become successful in here, in the sense that
Absolutely.
people know we're not going to bullshit them, essentially.
Right.
No, it's everything.
Mm-hmm.
I agree.
Mm-hmm. I think that's super important. Where do you want to go with your coaching career? Like, do you want to keep climbing the ranks, like become a head coach?
I think there's multiple avenues here. Like, I could see myself doing that.
Right.
But that's hard.
Yeah.
Because family. So
Correct.
coaching is hard because I want to see Bo. I want to see my son play sports, and he's going to.
Like, how old is Bo now?
He's only 3.5. Like, he'll be
Yeah.
4 in the summer.
He's probably already throwing
But it's
65.
Harder than me, that's for sure.
But I want to see that. I don't want to miss a thing.
Right.
My parents didn't miss anything. I don't want to miss a thing, and you can't do that. And that stinks. And honestly, they're trying to make it where women are being more successful in coaching, which is awesome. And they're making it so kids can go on trips, and you have more downtime. Like, you have a computer in front of you. I can do a lot of this stuff at home.
Right.
So that part is getting better. So yeah, I'd love to see that. Like, I would love to be successful in that aspect, because I think I could. I have no doubt.
Like, obviously during the season, you anticipate it being
Right.
like a grind.
Exactly.
And tough to see family as much, but when it's off season, there's a lot of things, like you even said, it's a lot of desk job work.
Yeah. And we have the ability today, especially, to do that at home. So
absolutely.
And I think a lot of people are realizing that. So
Right.
it depends, but honestly, as long as in my future, if I can coach something where
Right.
I know I'm seeing a difference, I'm good with that.
Right.
So and that's become a big eye opener for me too.
Where
But
were you coaching when you had Bo? What level?
High school.
High school.
Yeah.
Was it harder to then transition to college? The second time with?
No,
Okay.
because Zach, my husband, and I sat down with him and I was like, hey, I want to do this, but you got to be on board with me. And he
Right.
was. So that was huge. That's all I needed.
Right.
And that made a big difference.
Shout out to Zach. but that's Sam's biggest fear with me as we keep growing this. It's
Yeah.
like just fucking crazy long days and
Yep.
and late nights, and
Yeah.
it's tough. I guess you just do it, right?
Well, you have to remember that everything that we are telling kids, we have to instill in ourselves, which is so hard, but it's so important. And we do that. I'm like, what are you doing? Like, go to sleep, get a good night's sleep. I didn't do that last night. Like,
Yeah.
you have to make time for yourself, and that's what I'm learning. And you can You
Right.
just have to make it important.
Right.
Right.
So that's in that, and I hope that that's growing everywhere, but
Right.
you have to know that for yourself too.
You just come to that realization in yourself just as things went on, like
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Make yourself more of a priority.
Right.
That's what it comes down to. Like, yes, you do have to. You have a family. You have your team, but you also have to make sure you're functioning at your highest capacity for those people.
Exactly.
And if you aren't, like, what are you doing? Like,
Right.
there's something's got to change.
Do you feel like friends don't understand though? Like when I go out, like say you have friends that like work in a very isolated, right? Like
I know exactly where you're
in
going.
a very like in a very isolated job. And you're like, I can't go out. Like I'm emotionally drained.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, when I stink now, but I like the only thing I want to do is go home.
Yeah.
But no, 100%. And to be completely honest, I don't think people realize how much Division One. Well, it doesn't matter, but Division One women's athletics, you do a lot.
Yeah.
Like if I'm a men's team, they're gonna be like, oh God, you don't have time. But I'm coaching volleyball, and they're like, oh, is that full time? Or no offense.
Right. No, I asked
But
that. I'm
like,
sorry.
no. I don't mean that in a bad way, but no one knows that. Like you just
Right.
don't expect it.
Right.
Whereas, yeah, it's full time.
Well,
Yeah.
and
It's
even
all
like,
the time. And that's here too, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's all, and then you mentally bring home stuff. So,
Mm-hmm.
because you're like, oh, what about this kid? Like, did I do the right thing?
that's why I thoroughly enjoy my 25-minute ride home.
Yeah,
I can
I-
like
same.
decompress.
I
I
do the
get
same.
home, and then I'm like, all right. And sometimes I have work I got to do, so I'm like, I got to get this done. But a lot of times I can just chill, relax, make dinner if I feel like it. Hopefully there's leftovers, so I don't have to actually cook. But
Yeah.
it's
Frozen pizzas are in my.
It's
Oh,
definitely
facts.
yeah. How many times have I brought up DiGiorno in here?
Yeah.
Like countless times. It's
That's
been a while.
awesome.
Though. It's been a while. I haven't had DiGiorno in a long time.
Oh, for sure. But yeah, bringing stuff home is tough. That's how I like smashed Sam's like vase thing the other week. I was trying to answer a text from a dad about his daughter, and I was carrying in like a whole box of her stuff, and
I understand.
I dropped it, and it all broke. So it's tough. Sometimes bringing stuff home.
The way you told me
does
the
that.
story was way more comical, but it's still good.
No, I'm lucky. Zach just listens, so I'll take that.
Yeah.
But you need that. You need it to be good at home.
Mm-hmm.
Or be supportive.
Well, and especially like you were talking about emotional roller coaster.
Yeah.
You know, you're dealing with how many girls are on your team?
This year, on this season, we had 21.
So you got 21 different girls.
Way too many. Yeah. Yes.
What's on a volleyball roster? How many usually?
Averages 16 to 20 probably.
Oh, so you had like
6 people play. So we had 21. You talk about emotional roller coaster.
With 6 playing.
Exactly.
And
And then maybe 3 or 4. So that's 10. Let's say 10 to 11 play.
That coming off the bench.
That's 10 more that aren't playing.
they're just standing there
Yeah.
essentially.
It's hard. So they have to buy in. They need to know their role.
Yeah.
So
We
That's-
talked about knowing like
you got to know your role. And if you're just on the other side of the net and you're the practice player, you're that person on the other team that we're scouting for, then that's a big deal.
Right.
So you need to know you're a big deal.
I mean, when we talked about it just with our high school baseball team, like the reason we were so good was because everybody on that team, no matter what, knew what their role was on the team.
Yeah.
It's
And
huge.
That created chemistry and created like the environment that it was fun for
That's cool.
everybody. It was fun for everybody, like for the most part.
The Olympics this year for volleyball, there's 21, and then they had to cut it to 12. But they would always comment like we were always 21, even though they weren't there. And even when they were 12 strong. That's what they called themselves. So still, they knew that if any impact they would have, if they would have gone on for just one play or 1 point, it would have made a difference. So it's all about knowing your role and if you buy in, I think you got it made.
Yeah.
You got all your kids to buy in, you're not going to lose. You're going to win.
You just gotta build the confidence in them that
Yep.
they know
Exactly.
that their role is equally as important as the best player on the team.
Right. And you have to be there's
Clear with them.
Clear is kind. Is that clear is kind or kind is
Sure.
whatever? It's hard because you have to own that. They need to know where their spot is. But if they know that and then they still work hard, then it's different. Instead of not telling them anything,
Right.
you're going to lose them.
How many girls do you bring in every year on average, new recruits?
I guess it depends on the year, but like this year we want to bring in 6 and the following year is 3.
Okay. It's tough. It's like it's a small number, right?
Yeah.
And that's dependent on
But that depends. People can leave.
like graduates,
Yeah.
transfers, all that.
COVID if they want to stay.
Yeah.
Right.
Or if they
When
don't want
is
to stay.
when is that trickle down of like the COVID years? When is that gonna end?
It ends, so the last COVID years are going to be juniors.
juniors now.
Yep. So they have 3 years of eligibility left.
Jesus
So in 3 years.
Right. Yeah, it's a while. It's tough
Be
if
like
you're high school. It's tough if you're high
30
school.
years old.
And
play
if you
as a senior.
redshirted, let's say, if you got hurt, or if you redshirted because you're waiting, or you're getting, like we have a kid that came in this year that she tore her ACL 8 months before she got in, so she just redshirted this year. But if she would have came in COVID, she would have had 6 years. You're talking about, and that's in volleyball, which you're on a different side of the net. You're playing football. I don't know, basketball. You have grown-ass men playing.
Right.
Children.
Yeah, and that comes with volleyball too. Don't get me wrong, but that's crazy.
Yeah.
So it's a different world.
Yeah, so that's tough. So I know we talked before about the recruiting process, but let's say there's a high school sophomore, junior who's listening. Like, what are the best steps they can take to get in front of you, set themselves up to just like have a conversation and give themselves an opportunity?
Yeah, I would say they need to be clear on their expectations. It's different. Like I tell kids, tell me what you need. Like, what do you want to hear from me? Like, do you want me to tell you that you're R3 and that I have offers out? Because do you want to know what's going on? I just think it's important for them to know what they want. So I really try to tell kids, especially like from Chatham, like, hey, go in there and be like, hey, do you have room?
Right.
If not, that's okay. I just need to know. Like,
Right.
be honest. Like, demand what you want because it's important. You don't need to be held. Like, I just talked to someone on the phone who said she waited 3 weeks and didn't hear, so she asked, and they gave away the scholarship. Don't wait.
Don't wait.
Kids think, I don't even know, but like they're too passive. They just think,
don't.
Right?
It's hard to be, but don't. It's okay. Coaches are going to be, honestly, a kid was like, well, I just need to know where you stand because I need to tell a school in a week.
I mean,
Okay, I'll tell you.
I was in here this last week. Kid got a text from a college. Coach reached out to him, and he's like, I don't know what to say. And I was like, all right, let me help you out a little bit.
Yeah.
Helped him out with the text to send, and then coach responded, and I was like, now ask him if he's got room for you on his team.
Yeah,
Like,
it's huge.
Flat out ask him. I'm like, because otherwise you're just going to be
And they'll answer.
running around in circles and never find out. And then he found out, and it looks like things are going to go
That's
well
awesome.
for him. So, but when in the grand scheme of things, if you don't ask, you'll never know.
Exactly.
You'll
And
never know.
that's a grown-up thing to do.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's just what I started learning now.
Right.
So I want to keep telling kids that because that's huge. But what we look for, I mean, I want a kid. I don't want in the best way possible, I don't want their parents.
How much do you have parents try to get involved?
I had a mom call the office 2 days ago.
How do you handle that? Because
I mean, I'm really nice, so I can't. Like, I'm like, okay, this is what she has to do. I need a video. I need this, but I'm not promising anything.
Right.
So I need to talk to her.
That's always tough for me. We have an eval with, if you're younger, like 7th, 8th grade, okay, I'll like have a conversation with the parent.
Absolutely.
But
Absolutely.
if you're a junior in high school
Nope, it's just you. We got to grow up.
and the mom comes and sits at the table with me
Yep.
and I'll ask a question directed at the kid and they'll answer,
Yeah.
like I'll just look right at the kid and like re-ask the question.
Yep. No, I agree. We actually have a kid that we're really interested in. Her mom answered all the questions when we were on Zoom. She's from California. So it's okay because then we know when she gets here that I'm going to have to be a helicopter person for a little while.
But a lot of the times I feel like the kid is then like, the mom leaves and they're like, what the fuck, mom?
No,
Like,
I agree.
Right?
No, you're right. So
like
I
they're
think,
embarrassed that that's happening.
So I think it's big for the kids to step up. I also think like when I'm watching kids, their engagement with their teammates and how they act. If they're just like, oh, whatever, this is nothing, or like they don't care,
Right.
I have issues. It's a red flag. I might still pursue, but I already took a few steps back.
Right.
So that's a big red flag for me personally.
You're saying how you act off the court,
Yep.
interacting. Mhm.
Or if you mess up like once and how you act, because at the end of the day, this is just a sport. I know it's everything for everybody, but it's just it's so small in the grand schemes of things. So you have to know that, and you have to know that you're not the only person out there.
Right.
So for me, it's just how people act when they're messing up or when things are hard. I would say even more when they're hard or if the game's on the line, what they look like. If they're giving it all and they mess up, if they hit the ball on game point rather than tip, that's big for me.
Yeah.
Because I know you're going after it.
Right.
If you hit it out, you get blocked, whatever. But you're going after something, you give it all. I'm going after that kid.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. That's true.
yeah.
So we talked a bit about the transfer portal
Yep.
before. And I mean, obviously, probably, high schoolers don't know about this, but if you're in college, you've either been through it and experienced it, and they have it for every sport, right?
Yep.
It's just different.
It is open.
But okay, so if you want to transfer school for any reason, you then have to enter this.
Yes.
And then what is it? A place where other coaches can go into and see.
Right. So the transfer portal used to have a lot of rules, and now it doesn't.
Right, you used to have to sit for a year, right?
Yeah, and what would happen is coaches could not release you.
Oh, I do remember that because I remember seeing that with football a lot.
Really,
But what? That's
shitty.
a subjective thing.
Yeah,
Like,
you could be
Paul,
like, no, you're not getting released.
Like, you know what? Fuck Paul. I'm not letting him go out of spite.
So that's why now there's no rules. There's 5 years, like not even.
Okay.
I would say COVID also put.
Yeah, I
stopped
feel like
it.
COVID put a lot of rules.
Yep.
Like they put a lot of rules in for.
And
COVID
I don't think they'll come back. So
is
this
good.
is a whole new ball game for every sport. So like recruiting, if I could maybe not recruit. So this stinks for younger kids because I could be like, okay, I'm not going to recruit a senior. I'm going to go get a transfer. I'm going to hold that spot and get a junior that's going to transfer in as a really good kid, like a really good player. So it stinks for that aspect, but there's so many unanswered questions. Like nobody knows about it. So you literally just go on the portal, you put your name on, and you can put if you want to get notified, which most kids do. They put their email or their phone number, and we can reach out right then. And you're going to get hit up a ton in the first week, but then it dies down.
Right. What are you seeing when you log in? The kid creates like a profile?
Literally it's just a list. So like it's like a list 1 through 600 and like 25 show up. And then I go to the next page, 25. So it's just where you're from, what year you are. If you want scholarship money, if you don't care, which most people put they want is they should.
Right.
You should advocate for yourself. And then just to reach out.
But you mentioned off air that you feel like you can help kids with this.
Absolutely. Somebody should.
But how?
Nobody knows the avenue.
Where do kids go wrong, or what don't they know, and what should they know?
Same thing of being passive. They don't know. Like, I just talked to a kid who is from Wake Forest, and she doesn't know. Like, she reached out to a school, and they were really interested. She wanted to visit the next day after she went on the portal. Like, come out. She drove out. It was close enough.
Okay.
She drove out. They didn't talk to her for 3 weeks, and somebody else committed, like that they had previously offered.
So they took her spot.
And that's fine. Like, that's just the name of the game. But they don't know the questions to ask.
Like so, almost having like you have an advisor when you go to college, right?
Exactly.
Like having a
They need
transfer portal advisor.
Yeah, somebody that helps you. It's almost like an agent.
Right.
Like, hey, all right, you need to have video right away. You need to, and honestly, I can pull up any school in the country right now, Division I, and I think Division II, and I can look at their film. Like, that's what's made life as a coach a lot easier because you don't have to send it or break it down. It's already broken down for you.
Right.
And I can pick up anybody. So that part is great. But I need to know, like, hey, I played against Syracuse on this day. Just that's the game you're going to look at. So they need to be specific as they can about how I can find them and watch their video because that's going to, it stinks, but it's a minute of my time that I'm going to make sure that your skill level is okay, like that it's up to par.
I don't know. I feel like the NCAA's got enough money; they could probably get somebody to
I
hire
agree.
somebody for like each region.
Yeah.
Like
no,
you
for
have,
sure.
Like, Northeast. You got the West Coast. You got the Midwest. Like break it up by region, and then if you have to, break it up by sport. But in the grand scheme, if that's that person's
It's the same
full-time
thing.
job, like
Yeah.
you're just going, okay, this time
This
of
is
year
what
I'm
you
working
need.
on these athletes. This
Yep.
time of year it's these athletes. This time and like
It's all different.
like
No, it's important because they really don't know what to do. They just put their name out there and they're waiting to get contacted rather than be like, hey, I live around this area. I want to be close to home or I have something in mind because you've already been in college.
Right.
Like, this is who I'm going to reach out to. And this is what I want to tell you. All right, I want to make a decision in a month. Like, tell me what you're doing. So
Okay,
just
lay out the
advocating.
steps though. So say some girl came to you, she's in the
Yep.
transfer portal, she wants to go to Albany or somewhere else,
Yep.
but she just doesn't know what to do.
I just had this conversation. So I told her she needed to have film. You reach out. You say you want money. You say where you're going to school for because that's huge.
Right, this is business. This is where high school does us no fucking good.
This is true.
Right? But go ahead. Okay, you need film. You're going to
You need
ask for money.
You need to know what you're going to school for because by now you're already in, right? Unless you're a freshman and you have no idea. But usually by then you have an idea. So you know what you're going to school for. It's hard now because of COVID. So if you want to go to grad school, if they have that program too, It's a different story though, but just reaching out and having you need to have standards for yourself. That would be the biggest thing. Okay, like I would love to go here, but I need this amount of money, or I need a scholarship for this many years. Either it's a whole time or if it's one.
Right.
Like you know that as your family, what you're going through. So, and again, advocate. So, hey, I want scholarship.
Yeah. This
School
is where
and everything.
This is where you're playing a game though. Like if you're a kid from a more like well-off household, like your parents probably have negotiated salaries and for jobs, you know what to do. But what if you're not? Like now you're disadvantaged in this, right?
Correct. It stinks, but as soon as you go on the transfer portal, a lot of schools have money.
Right.
They do.
But you got to vouch for yourself.
Correct. It's all about just advocating, like in anything as you're an adult. Like, oh, I want to do this. Oh, I want to have $5,000 more, or I want to make sure I have leave or paid holidays, like whatever, you know.
The word that stuck out to me that you said, and I think this should also trickle down to when a high school kid is choosing their college, standards.
Yep.
Like have a standard for what you look for in every aspect, not
Absolutely.
just the status, right? You know, as a high school kid or as a college kid, like you're gonna know a little bit more about yourself growing into an adult.
Correct.
So have standards for yourself that you want certain things out of the school that you're going to. And the other thing that for me, I feel like, again, that double-edged sword that we've talked about with other things, the transfer portal is a good and tough thing to go through.
It's tough. You just don't know.
It does, with the new rules, it gives kids the opportunity that maybe made that wrong decision.
Exactly.
Right.
To go somewhere they love.
Go somewhere that they want to go.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. You have to know, you have to accept where you're at though. So in saying that, like the girl I just got off the phone with a few days ago, she wants to play. She wants to be a player. So, and she's in the Power 5. I hear it. So most Power 5 places already have their key players.
Right.
Or already know who's coming in. So you have to make that decision. If you're good with, going to a smaller or a lower level and being a star and having fun, then you got it made.
Right.
So that's something you have to also come into consideration of yourself. All right, I really want to have that name school. I want to go to a Duke. I want to go to, Stanford. But I might not ever play.
You better be smart as fuck if you're going to Stanford.
Yeah, you're right. And you can't transfer there. So don't.
Yeah.
You can't transfer there. So yeah, it's just, you have to know that. And I told her that. I was like, hey, if you want to go play, you want to be a stud, 6 rotation, play all the way around, you're going to have to come down a little. Like, you're going to have to come down just a little. And that's okay. And she's like, I'm good with that. I'm like, okay, let's do this. So
Well, and that's
just knowing that.
Again, like as a college kid that's maybe gone through 2 years of college, you might know that more than
Exactly.
a high school kid that wants to, again, they want to post that graphic.
Yep.
They want to show everybody they signed that letter, like all of that kind of stuff.
Absolutely.
And that's where in here, you know, I've told this to kids multiple times, like I want to provide a shortcut for you, like in any way.
Right.
Whether it's weightlifting, life, school, like some sort of shortcut to help you not make a mistake that either I made or somebody else I know made or anything like that, to where you can, you know, cut that part out and get closer to your goal.
Yeah, it's like just educating yourself, right? Like you got to go see other kids that are playing at that level.
Right.
And the kids don't, especially in small town. Like I'm from a small town. I live in a small town now. Like you don't get outside of that small town. You don't actually see that, oh, I'm good here, but there's like a team across the country that everyone on that team is the same level as me.
Yeah.
So you have to educate yourself and get out there. And there's a lot of coaches that do that. They bring them places and they're like, this is what this looks like.
I think that's why playing club can be advantageous.
Yes.
Because
for
now
sure.
you're getting exposed to like this just different level of play.
Absolutely.
Different areas in a bigger pool. It's like we talked about before, like moving to a bigger city and then working. It's like kind of this like immediate level up in life.
Right.
Like you got to pick up your speed or you're going to fall
right.
back.
Yeah, it's tough. It's really tough. And that's everything in life, right? Like,
yeah, that's
you
true.
gotta figure it out.
So say you have like a transfer portal advisor, right? And you help somebody and and that's a job.
Brooke's future job.
But can
agree.
that get
I'm advocating right now.
Thank you.
could that get skewed if now all of a sudden you have these positions and now you have schools who like nudge people to send people certain directions.
Yeah, it's all part of the business, right?
Yeah, right.
Like you're
It's
gonna
like-
have that. That's everywhere right now, anyways.
Right.
But yeah, again, it's making relationships.
Yeah.
Well, that's where
Like
I
for
think,
me, I know genuine people, right?
Yeah.
Or I know people that aren't genuine. I don't know, that are just, trying to either just either win quick and get out of there, or
Right.
or just for them.
Right.
And based on the kid too, who's best for what fit. So yeah, I think it needs to be someone unique that's
Right.
gonna doesn't have bias or.
Right. Or
Yeah,
get sucked
that's tough.
sucked into bias. That is
Yeah.
tough.
Well, and
It's
that's why I said I think it needs to be more regional. It
Absolutely.
can't be something where you hire somebody, like each school has somebody. I think it needs to be like, okay, you have one person that takes care
yeah,
of
no,
all
it's
the
everyone. Yeah.
all the
Right.
athletes in the
It's like a
Northeast.
recruiter right now. Like they
Right.
have recruiters all over the country for every sport in
Right.
high school.
But I love talking about this because, like, it's just the future. Like, people who give a shit about kids and can
Right.
grow it. Like, this is a weird coincidence, but, like, this shirt I have on, like, Protect the Plate. So Joe Claire is a softball coach out in Boston, and she has, like, a program now where, like, some of our female athletes work with her and do it. But it's basically like an onboarding, learning how to talk to coaches, apply to colleges, filter through what's best for you,
Yeah.
how to create a Twitter profile that's professional.
Yep.
And like she does a really good, non-biased, caring about the kids job. Where like
That's cool.
money is not being the motives. Like she would be an awesome person to like talk to and link up with. She does a fantastic job.
That's awesome.
So yeah, it's
We
cool.
need more of that.
I have to get her to the 518 so she can hop on the podcast.
That's
I know.
right.
I've texted with her. She would be fantastic.
She would be
yeah,
really
Joe,
good.
if you're listening,
Hop on.
Get on it.
hop on, please. Yeah. But you two will hit it off. You'll have to look her up.
No, that's
no,
big.
How much has I get it wrong? Is it NIL or NLI? What's the money thing?
NIL is that money thing,
Name.
right?
Where you can get
Because NLI is National Letter of Intent.
NIL
NIL
is
is the whatever the
Name.
fuck it's
I'm
called.
dyslexic
Name.
too. I can't even tell you this right now.
Name something
I would say
likeness.
that. Yes,
Yeah.
correct.
name,
That-
image, like
yes,
likeness.
name, image,
It's
likeness.
huge.
There we go. I know. I'm like
FY,
two
so
of these
just
deep.
talking about Nebraska,
Yeah,
it's ridiculous how much money they can make.
Like the volleyball players, you're saying?
Yes.
that's awesome though.
Yeah,
you're
it's
like,
huge.
You're
It's
like,
so
I wish I
cool.
had that probably.
Yeah, it's huge. It's awesome.
How much have you
Correct.
encountered that now with your girls?
We probably have one that if she actually put the time into it would make some good, decent money.
How would you go about it though? Like, companies come to the kid
Yep.
and say,
It's like, well, think about it. I mean, it's just today, like if you're a YouTuber or if you're whatever,
right.
big person, like, yeah. It's,
Getting your name out there more.
exactly.
It's
And you
wi-
make money.
Yeah, you should though. It's wild to
I
think
agree.
that kids were never paid. I mean, I'm very much on the side of like
100%.
fucking pay the person.
I'm good with it.
I did
Absolutely.
I did a whole
It is
project in college on paying college athletes and why they should be paid
Yep.
because I have always been an advocate for it. I'm like, these colleges are making millions of dollars.
Yeah, think
Yep.
about these Power Fives. How much money football's making off of
Yeah,
kids.
and so that's another thing I don't like is college of I can't do this now that I'm thinking, but you can make money off of attendance.
Right.
So college athletes come into different schools and they can make $300 a month just because of the cost of attendance.
Yeah.
Where like somewhere like me, now we're getting a disservice because we can't do that.
Right.
So it's so tough, but we have to fundraise for it.
Right.
So now that's something that we have to really focus on, really fundraise for, and we can give money. But you're talking about Alabama.
Like based off of like attendance of like how many people show up to the game.
Mm-hmm.
You're saying what? Kids get paid
Kids
off
get
that?
paid off of that.
Athletes that are on scholarship already get paid.
Was
So
it-
there's literally I can
Is
tell
that
you
like
like
a stipend type
Power
thing?
5, some schools will make, let's say, $3,500 a semester. All right, and then some make $8,000 a semester, and then other schools maybe make $16,000 a semester.
Right.
So on top of you getting free school, you're also making anywhere between 5 to 30 grand
But
just
that-
in your pocket.
But that's great though. I mean, they're the ones why this is
No,
why
I
this
totally
money's
agree
coming
because they're
in.
making the money. Like they're the kids that are making the money. That's the only reason money's coming in.
Right.
But that's
It's
also
just tough because it's tough to recruit kids, and they're like, "Oh, what's your cost of attendance?" I'm like,
That's a question that's asked now.
so that's big time.
because
What's your cost
because of the money
attendance?
situation.
Yes.
Yeah.
And we're like, okay, but now that's something that has to come into play.
Right.
So now we're
But-
not just fundraising for, let's say we're taking a trip across country to play Stanford or to play
Mm-hmm.
Texas or wherever. Now we're fundraising for cost of attendance.
Right. But this is business. Like, this
Yep.
is why I said
Exactly.
before, like, high school does I guess it does you some good, but, like,
For sure.
taking out loans, understanding business,
Yep.
understanding negotiating, like,
Negotiating.
Now all this stuff matters
It's huge.
coming out of high school, and now
Yep.
you're going into college. But it gets read at, like, the Reggie Bush situations, maybe. where like now this is
Well,
like
yeah,
illegal
you're going to
under
get rid of a
table
lot of the booster situations,
Right.
like
Well,
the Ned
Paying
Shapiro
for
or
your
whatever his
mom's
name
home.
is.
Yeah.
Right.
And
I would have done the same thing.
what?
Paid for my mom's home.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, if somebody offers you that, right? Yeah, sure.
Absolutely.
There's no question.
There wouldn't have been a second thought in my brain and whatnot. But in the grand scheme, you won't have those situations where you have the
Correct.
Reggie Bush who gets his Heisman Trophy taken away.
Because you have the money.
Because
Right.
and I'm pretty sure they're reinstating his Heisman.
As they should, because
From
he's
what
18 to like, come on.
and he was
We're better than that.
he was the Heisman Trophy winner.
Exactly.
Like,
Right.
Reggie Bush is one of the few people. Like when I remember watching college football, I was like, wow.
Yep.
So give the man his trophy.
I agree with you.
So, but you won't have those situations as much. You might a little bit. I think almost more now in the smaller schools.
Yeah.
Because they
It's
are
tough.
trying to compete
Exactly.
with the bigger schools. So
Yeah, that could come up. I can see that.
I could see it if it was going to come up anywhere, like more in the smaller schools now, because they have to try to compete with those bigger schools and the NIL. But you also see Jackson State with Deion Sanders.
Yep.
Getting all these top recruits. They got the #1 recruit in the nation for football, or
Yep.
number 2, one or two for football, and it's an HBCU. It's not a
That's
Division
cool.
1A, and it's because now they can make money off their name, they can make money off their likeness, and
Yeah, it's
they
all
can go to a
different.
school where they feel like they fit.
Yep.
And I think that's a big thing too.
That'll
Again,
be a game changer.
you know, it's going to allow kids to go to schools where they feel more like it's a fit for them than going there because it's Alabama or
Right.
Clemson or whatever.
Would that have changed where you went if you knew there was some money on the table? No.
No.
No. What drew you to Albany? Because you.
They were
from
top.
the South.
They were top. One Kelly. He's very good. He makes you feel special the second you talk to him. So that's if I've learned anything from him, that was part of it.
Where's he now?
Wisconsin.
Hmm.
Just one. I watched that. It was pretty cool. But yeah, no, they were top. They were 47th or they were top 50 in the country. Like they were really good. So it was a no-brainer for me. I was
Yeah.
kind of an underdog anyways. Like I wanted to go somewhere and then do good. Like I wanted to go somewhere that maybe no one knew about either. Because honestly, if you're in the South, nobody knows about Albany.
Right.
So I wanted that. That was part of me.
It's that underdog story.
Mm-hmm.
You wanna come out and show out. And,
Absolutely.
Clearly with your resume, you definitely did that. So,
I appreciate
and I think
that.
you fulfilled that part of it
I
at least.
tried.
So
Yeah, I think definitely, and just be able to pass that on to younger girls, like
Absolutely.
whether it's from. Whether it's,
There you go. Yeah. I think people are afraid to tell their past, which is unfortunate. I think we need to do more of that and what we went through and how we get through it. Because people we don't say anything, right? Through the hard times, we don't talk about that. So I think I love talking about things that I've gone through or been through that was tough. Because it's just something I can share and that will help pass things on.
yeah,
Right.
absolutely. And
Yeah.
that's something I do in here, whether it's me having to move back home because of COVID.
Yeah.
I was living in New York City and COVID hit, and I was like, fuck.
Yeah.
What do I do? Switching my major 2.5 years into college.
Yeah.
That's something that I stress to these kids here all the time is I'm like, dude, you're going in at 18 years old. If you don't know what you want to do, that's okay.
Yep.
And because so many think they need to know what they're going to do. And I'm like, I switched my major 2.5 years into college. I have a friend that switched his major twice in college in his first 2 years. I have another friend who switched his majors twice in college.
And
Like,
how many jobs have you had? Like,
Oh.
how many jobs are we talking about since then?
Talk
like,
about that.
come on.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah, you just told your coaching story.
Yeah.
It's like
Like,
up
you're
here,
gonna
down
have-
south, up here.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. You're going to have, unless you're going to be a doctor, right? Unless you change that. Or-
Right.
I just feel like you're going to go, it's about who you know and the relationships you make and how that can impact you. Someone that, like Kelly, like I didn't talk to him for a few years and then I wanted to get back into it. And he's like, I called him up and he's like, all right, let's do this. So it's all about those different things that can help you along the way.
Again, Mike hit me up in October of last year, and it's since then, as soon as he told me that he wanted to get me in here as a coach, it was almost like I didn't even think twice about it.
That's cool.
And because I knew I was going to be up here for the foreseeable future, so I was like, this is a no-brainer. It didn't even cross my mind to say no. And then once I came up here and talked to Mike again, the relationship that we had built throughout 20 years.
That's cool.
Made it just an easy transition, and even bringing in Connor, that was a previous relationship Mike had made through somebody that worked out here, right?
Connor was like a family friend, like that we knew, and then he ended up
worked
here,
out here,
worked
right?
out here, and then ended up here. So yeah,
That's
like,
awesome.
yeah, through coaching, like I think that's kind of the big takeaway today is just like relationships are important. Like if you're a coach, like understanding the value in that, like above technical skills. Like you seem to be good at that, but like if you're not good at relationships, like you could teach technique all day and people are less apt to listen.
Yep.
Yeah, and then
I
just
agree.
like being empathetic and vulnerable and keeping all those doors open.
Vulnerable.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
That's the
because
biggest one.
Vulnerable and empathy. Those
Yep.
2 words that.
You need to be vulnerable.
yeah, because we're all going through shit, and so
Yeah,
are the kids, and so are us,
exactly.
you know. And it's
Exactly.
like when you put that wall up, it's like you're not saying a wall's there, but you sense that a wall's there, and like
Absolutely.
you're never gonna get where you need to be. So
I agree.
no, man. Hopefully more coaches can continue to be like that as we just go down through the years, because it's definitely what's best for the kids and
I agree.
having just the right thing for them in mind. So, no, Brooke, I appreciate you coming on.
Thank you. This is fun.
was fun. No, thank you for doing it. And yeah, we're listening. Make sure you follow UAlbany women's volleyball and get to games
Absolutely.
for sure. And yeah.
When's UAlbany women's basketball play? Did they play tonight?
Mhm.
Today?
They are.
Are they playing tonight?
Louisville, yeah. They're playing right now.
Yes, they would have played once you guys listened to this, but let's go UAlbany.
Yes, let's go great.
Here we
games.
go. Yeah, UAlbany. So thanks
No,
for listening,
thank
everybody.
you.
And yes,
I
no,
appreciate it, Humble.
thank you, Brooke. All right, we'll see you guys next time. Thank you. Woo. Thank you, Brooke.